So I think it was 2015 is the first time that Crystal and I both saw these little pockets of fire. And um, and since then we've talked to so many people who have seen all over the world little pockets of fire, not big numbers, little pockets of fire. Um, and they just grow up and they have their own entity, their own purposes, but it's all focused around who Jesus is and what Jesus is doing. And you're a pocket of fire. And your walk in faith is one of God's pockets of fire. What I want to see happen is to discover all those pockets of fire and then every once in a while just get together to have a blowout time in the kingdom.
Right?
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Because it's not about the big churches. It's
Yeah.
just not. It's about the pockets. Now, if that big church is a pocket of fire, that's one thing. But we're still looking for pockets. We're still looking for the big church, the big ministry. We're still looking for that to fulfill our need. And yet the Lord's going, there's a pocket of fire, and there's a pocket of fire. And you don't have to, you don't, you, it's the tribes, right?
Yeah.
They were each in a sense a pocket of fire of God. They carried God
Yeah.
within them, and I could imagine that they met each other, they saw each other. I'm sure they did at times, but like most family, a couple 2 or 3 days, we're doing great. Let's go on. Let's go back to our tribe. Let's go.
Yeah.
We have our own entity, our own destinies, our own purposes, our own identities, and each pocket of fire will have that God's identity on them that's unique and special to them, right? But what if we could say, well, you're a pocket of fire and you're a pocket of fire and we're a pocket of fire. Why don't we get together and just hang out and have a meal together and see what God does? Have a big blowout meal somewhere and just see what God does. And you know that if it's a pocket of fire, they're going to want to do it
Yeah.
because it's the connection that's not about owning other people. And that's a big thing about the new era. It's not about owning or worrying about loss of people. Because if somebody might go, oh, wow, that pocket of fire, I so belong there, then go there. Go to that
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we want the most for you, not for me. I want the most for you. I'm going to get the most if I let you go. I'm going to get the most if I'm encouraging someone to go after what they're supposed to be doing, right? I'm going to get filled up in abundance. Anyway, can you imagine a bunch of all through the Boone County area, a little pockets of fire just rising up, getting together, rent some hotel ballroom and come together and have a big cater a meal in and who knows what God would do. Stuff
Wouldn't that be
happens around the
great?
table.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what made me think of and hearing you talk is Byron, that's wells. That's uncapping wells. That's exactly what that is.
Say
That's
that
those
again.
That's uncapping wells. Those are
Oh,
wells that are being uncapped. That's exactly what that is. And you mentioned that, we keep looking toward the big mega churches and all that stuff. And that's beautiful. That serves a purpose. But what God is doing is he's looking for the simple, the ones hidden, the authentic,
yeah.
that are not trying to make a name for themselves. They just love Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's bubbling up and being restored. And you see these little pockets. I mean, those are wells being uncovered.
Yeah.
Almost think in my mind, how you see an oil field with all the different oil rigs all over the place, and
Mm.
some of them will catch fire, but it's this very little isolated fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
fire here, or this one's on fire, or this one's on fire, and it's yeah, I don't know. There's something to that. There's definitely a connection.
Oh yeah. I know. When we first saw these pockets, I think Crystal first saw them in Europe. We were in Europe. She saw them through Germany and Italy and somewhere else. And then we've just talked to so many people. Um, and so it's already here. It's just the availability to follow what he's doing and go after, what he's doing. And that's what you've opened the door to. You've said yes. You've said, I want more. you know, that whole issue of the supremacy of Jesus type thing, you know.